What the heck is P-Doom? And why is everybody talking about UBI all of a sudden? 5 years ago, these would have been fringe concepts, too nerdy even for me. And now I can't go a day without seeing these things on Forbes or New York Times or even the BBC. And I predict a year from now, these are going to be household terms that even my mom is going to be talking about. That's because of AI. Before we get to P-Doom, let's talk for a second about UBI. That's Universal Basic Income. The idea here is that society distributes all of the production and the wealth among its citizenry in some sort of shared capacity so that everyone can kind of take advantage of it, and then they allow people to do whatever it is they want to do. That's the basic idea. And this is a very, very old idea. It's been around probably since the dawn of civilization, certainly since the idea of money and currency came into being. So why are people talking about UBI now? And what does it have to do with AI? So recently, I wrote an article specifically talking about a problem that I had. And it goes like this. We opened up a job position, and because the game industry is in a slump, we got thousands of applications for a single junior software engineering position. And as I'm combing through hundreds and hundreds of these resumes and cover letters, I began to notice that they all looked and sounded the same. They even had some of the same expressions, especially in the cover letters. They were almost identical in their verbiage about what they did and didn't like. And I began to realize that many of these people had been using AI to help them in their process. And there's an obvious reason, because if you go into GPT or one of these tools and ask it to create a cover letter for a job, it will give you something quite amazing in about 14 seconds. And there is a side effect of this. A number of side effects, actually. And the one I want to talk about is this. There used to be people who helped other people to develop their cover letters, their resumes, and prepare for interviews as a job. And if this was your job, you are forked because your job is gone and it's been replaced by AI. And there are lots of jobs like this out in the world that are starting to be replaced in this way. Take, for instance, costume designers. Now, if I wanted to imagine a futuristic costume for surfing over the sand on some kind of hoverboard with a flowy thing, well, GPT can help me with that in about 14 seconds. You and me, we may not hire costume designers. And there are people out in the world who do. And now that these tools exist, they are hiring less of them. So those people are probably forked too. Or take this gentleman, this fine gentleman here. He's a concept artist. That means he comes up with the whole vision and the idea and artistry for a product, like the movies Black Panther 1 and 2, or I don't know, classics like The Lion King. Pretty successful if you ask me. And here he is speaking in front of the California State Assembly, trying to explain to them what is happening to his own industry and all of the other people in his union.
A bot to replace creativity and dreams was never a tool any of us had ever asked for. It was never a problem any of us had ever asked to be solved. If this is innovation, and by adapting they mean get used to living in a car without a home, then this is not innovation at all, but a decimation of humanity itself and the complete annihilation of the great American dream.
Now, maybe this is all fine. Certainly, technology evolves and we all adapt. We're not sitting around as switchboard operators anymore. I don't even think that's a thing. And my whole industry, the games industry, kind of came into being during my lifetime. And here I've spent most of my career involved in it. So we're going to adapt to whatever new technology comes our way. Unless things evolve too quickly. Time is the crux of the problem. And there are lots of smart people thinking and talking about this. And there are really two paths, or sort of a range of spectrum between two ends that could happen. On the one hand, everything goes slowly. Like other technologies that you've lived through and that I've lived through, the smartphone comes out and it's not that great. And slowly over time, it becomes better until pretty soon everybody has one. And there's all kinds of jobs that come out. Yay for us. That's great. If that happens, awesome. Nobody's worried. On the other end of the spectrum is something called the fast takeoff. The rocket. Now, how does this happen? This is what happens when AI becomes capable enough that it starts to help AI become better at being an AI. And then it repeats that in a circle. Off it goes. This is called the singularity. And while I'm kind of interested in that, what I'm more interested is what happens on the way to get there. Because again, we're only talking about time. And whether this is a slow or a fast process, there is absolutely no argument that AI is going to displace a lot of workers, i.e., you and me. So when is this all going to happen? Well, the farthest predictions that I'm hearing on some of this stuff comes from Ray Kurzweil. This is from a long time ago when he wrote his book Singularity, and I've seen him talk, and he's giving this till about 2040 before we really have problems with this. That's the farthest out. The closer people are saying, I don't know, 3 to 5 years maybe. And the boldest prediction of all comes from Elon Musk. He thinks he's going to have AGI figured out by next year. And AGI means artificial general intelligence, which is AI systems that are generally smarter than most humans, which includes me. Great. So I got 1 year to change my career into something involving physical labor, like, I don't know, a hairstylist or a chef, or maybe a plumber. And this is why lots of smart people have all of a sudden started talking about UBI. Well, not really all of a sudden, actually, because some of these smart people have begun thinking about this some time ago. Take Sam Altman, for instance. He's the CEO of OpenAI, one of the leading companies building AI for us. And he said all the way back in 2016, that's like 8 years ago, that we're going to need something like UBI. In fact, he put his own millions of dollars into research on this. Well, that's a really long time ago. I wonder how he knew.
Now that we see some of the ways that AI is developing, I wonder if there's better things to do than the traditional conceptualization of UBI. I wonder if the future looks something like more like universal basic compute than universal basic income.
And now we can go all the way back to our first question. What the heck is P-Doom? Well, it's just meant to look like a mathematical function. It's not very complicated. P just stands for probability, and doom is, well, doom. Whatever kind of doom you can imagine. The probability of doom from AI resulting in the end of humanity, however you like. Well, how do you think it might happen? I don't know. Imagine right now that you had a computer system that was smarter than all the other humans on the planet. No, wait. Not just smarter than all the humans on the planet, smarter than all the other humans combined. This is the concept of ASI, artificial super intelligence. And this is where these knuckleheads are taking us. And whether you think this is 30 years away, or 20 years away, or 14 years away, or 5 years away, basically, this is where we're headed. And that's why everyone's talking about P-Doom and UBI, and why my mom will be talking about it before the year's out. Speaking of which... Hey, Mom, let me ask you a question.